up, everyone? This is Sasquatchy Mush with Breaking Bales. Just wanted to take some time today and show you the very first laminar flow hood I ever built. I built it pretty much from just stuff laying around the house, the plywood, the piece of sheet metal. The fan I did have to pick up from Amazon, and the filter can be found pretty much anywhere from Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, Target. They're readily available. It's a very common filter used, so you can find that pretty much anywhere for replacements. I took it all apart for you and put it back together so you can see that a laminar flow hood is not that hard to make, and it can really step up your game. But I'll tell you now, it is no replacement for both personal hygiene and keeping your area clean when you're working. You can use things like steel air boxes. They work just fine as long as you're clean, your surface is clean, your area is clean, as well as using like the updraft from your oven. When we first started, we used the updraft from our oven a lot. Had very little contamination because we really were thorough with cleaning our area, cleaning ourselves before we got started. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so to get started, I cut a piece of plywood that's 12 inches by 9 inches and one that's 8 by 9. This is going to be the bottom of my box. This is going to be one of the sides. I pre-drilled holes into the bottom piece right there and there, and I used a drill bit that is slightly smaller than the screw. You want it to be about the size of the shank of the screw and not the threads. So once I pre-drilled the 2 holes, I had some silicone caulk that I got that I'm going to use to put down right here along the edge, so that way when I screw those 2 pieces together, it seals up really nicely and you don't have any air leaks. Now I'm just going to fit those 2 pieces together. And screw them in. Now I choose these little finish screws because they have a really small head on them. So that way when I screw it in, that head will be flush with the wood and not sticking out. You can see the silicone squeezing out the side. That's good. We'll wipe that up later. Put in our second screw down here. And you can see that silicone squeezing out again. And you can see it all the way up and down, so I know I've got a good seal all the way across that joint. I'm just going to take that silicone, wipe it up with my finger, and smear it across that joint. And that way I know I have a really nice tight seal all the way across that joint. All right. Now, I'm going to take my second piece of wood that I cut 8 by 9, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Lay down our bead of silicone. go ahead and screw in my screws and my pre-drilled holes. Now the reason you want to pre-drill your holes is you want to make sure that the screw doesn't split the wood. If you try just running the screw straight into the wood without pre-drilling holes, you're most likely going to split the plywood. So make sure you pre-drill it. And again, you can see when I tighten that screw down, the silicone squeezes out between that joint. There we go again. Squeezes out nicely. We'll just wipe that up with our finger and smear it across that joint. So we know we have a nice tight seal all the way across. So there we have our bottom two sides. Now time for the top. So that piece will go on just like that, but before we screw it down, we want to lay down our beads of silicone and make sure it's all sealed. Set that on top, and as you can see, I have my pre-drilled holes. You can see that silicone squeezing out there along the edge. And we'll do the same thing on this side. You can see it silicone squeezing out nicely. So there's the simple box. Now for the front, I cut another piece of plywood, that measured 12 by 9, and I cut out a hole out of the center of it that would fit our filter snugly. So continuing making sure the box is sealed up, we're going to add a bead of silicone all the way around the front here. And there's the front of our box. There's the front. So our filter will slide right in there. Now for the back. Now you can do a solid plywood back. I wanted to have it to right ceiling, so I had a piece of plexiglass that was laying around, so I cut out the center of the back, so I can screw this plexiglass over it. But you can just cut a piece of plywood and use that. Make sure we seal it up. Now for the back. Now you can do a solid plywood back. I wanted to have it to where I could see in it, so I had this piece of plexiglass that was laying around, so I cut out the center of the back so I could screw this plexiglass over it. But you can just cut a piece of plywood and use that. Make sure we seal it up. Now on the back, which I have plexiglass for, you're going to want to cut out a hole for your computer fan. Make sure you test the direction so you don't install the computer fan in backwards and then have to take it apart, because you're going to want to put the computer fan into the back before you seal the back up. So my fan's going to go in like this. You want the hole to be just a little bit smaller than the actual diameter of the fan itself. And I cut a small hole down here for my cord to run through. So now I'll just put all this back together, bolt it in. I'll just get that finger tight for now. I'll come back and tighten that up a little bit later. so I've got all 4 bolts on. So I'm going to go back and tighten down all of these nuts. And I'm just going to get them finger tight. And then I'm going to slide my cord through the hole. And now I can put the back on. For the back, the screws I used have a much bigger head. There, so now I've got the back on the box with the fan installed. We'll come back and we'll seal up this hole later. Once the whole box is done, we'll look for any gaps that aren't sealed. Now to the front. Alright, so we've got the box with the opening for the filter. I cut these little blocks right here so that when I put the filter in, I can't push it in too far. So those are going to go, I have 2 for the bottom, right here and right here. And I'm going to make sure those screws are down flat so that way they don't, the filter doesn't hit it when you push it in. So those are in, and then I have 1 for the top. Alright, so now that that's done, the filter can slide right inside the box. And as you can see, if I turn this around, I have the fan centered right in the middle, so that way it's pushing all the air directly to the fan right in the middle, so that way the air disperses and goes through the filter evenly as much as possible. Now for the front, I had a piece of sheet metal laying around that I cut out the center for the filter, and then I added some foam backer on it, so that way it makes a nice seal around the filter itself. If you don't have anything to be able to cut out a piece of sheet metal like this, you could easily use like a piece of wood trim like this to picture frame around the outside so that it just barely covers the edge of the filter and holds it in place. So I'll go ahead and put my outside frame on. Now, I got everything built, so let's plug it in and test it. Got the variable speed fan. As you can see, the flame is bending over. It's not being blown out. So we've got a nice little area of clean air to work in front of. This was the first fan I built, and I built it mostly of just stuff that was laying around my house. Everything except for the fan you could find at Home Depot or Lowe's. The filters are, I mean, they're pretty much everywhere. Walmart, Target, Lowe's, Home Depot. This is a really common filter size, so you can get that pretty much anywhere. So now that we see it's working, we just want to go around and we want to check all of our seams where the plywood, the two pieces of plywood joined up, and just make sure everything is nice and sealed, which this is looking good. Now I'm going to take some of my silicone, and where the cord comes out of the back, I'm just going to kind of seal that cord up a little bit. And we'll just let it set, all the silicone dry and set up, and you'll have a nice, inexpensive laminar flow hood that you can do clean work in front of, and you don't have to put out a lot of money to do so.